Today I'm here with Juliet, Owen, Nuttall. And I have to first ask, when I looked up your website, it said that you were a former firefighter. Okay, well, we'll have to find out all about that too. But she helps women over 40 get pregnant naturally
Yeah.
without IVF. So welcome, Juliet. I'm so excited that you're here. And I love your guest. What's her name?
So this is my little daughter, Lyra, and
Lyra.
she is 3 in a couple of weeks and being very cheeky.
Oh, good. Hi, Lyra. Uh, So maybe you can just begin by kind of telling your story, how you got to where you are now helping women with this very unique situation and how you came to do this.
So I guess if you touched on being on the firefighter, I'll kind of start there. It was a lifelong dream for me to become a firefighter, and I had a previous relationship and I split up from him after 15 years. And I just went, I'm doing this. I'm going for it. I'm going to do my dream. And I got in very, very rigorous training process. And I got in, and it was like my dream job. I was like, I've made it. I completely made it. And I already was a shiatsu practitioner. So if you don't know what that is, that's you train in Chinese medicine, but it's a Japanese healing art. So you use the same principles of acupuncture, but you're working on the body instead of using needles. So I was like, I'd made it. I had a business, a firefighter. What else did I need? And children were not on my radar at that point. And then I met my current husband, Lyra's father, and we actually known each other for a long time. So like circumstances, events came together, and we were both single, and we realized that we had more than a friendship. And he just turned to me and he said, I know you're the one I want children with. And I kind of looked at him, I was like, you know, I've got problems with my menstrual cycle anyway, and children are not on my radar. I was 35 at the time. And I just thought, that's a future thing. Yeah, that's the future. Kind of roll on 5 years. I left the fire service because I was experiencing PTSD, and the way in which women are, how do I put it? Not treated, but the expectations put on a woman in that kind of environment are huge. And the damage it did to my mental health and my body were really, really immense. Like just this physical stress, the fact that, I was the only woman. There was no, there was no like taking into account my monthly cycle. I would go out on shouts all night long. I had no access to any female care. We had no toilets, and it just the stress of it all had a massive impact on me. And the fact that when we came back from major road traffic accidents, all the men would just say, we don't need any counseling. That's for weak people. And I would then be like, I went back to, at that point, I was living on my own, went back to an empty house, and the PTSD really took hold. So I decided to give it up for mental health reasons. And Daniel and I moved abroad together. We decided to have a business abroad, and it was like a lifelong dream, adventure, challenge. We had a major traumatic incident where we lost everything. We lost all our money. We lost the business that we bought out there. We lost a business that we had in the UK, which was going to be our kind of security blanket. We lost everything. Ended up sleeping in a tent in a stables next to one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And I suffered from a major mental breakdown and a physical breakdown. I was in a lot of pain and I knew something wasn't right. And I didn't really know what was going on. I had no access to medical care. I was extremely weak. And so I managed to get well enough to get back to the UK to discover that I had a massive infection in my fallopian tubes. It'd been there for a long, long time. And the doctors turned to me and said, "You're 41. The 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 mess that's in your womb right now, you are never going to get pregnant naturally. You've got way too much scarring. You've lost your right side, your fallopian tubes, your ovaries. Did you know you have fibroids and you've got cysts? And basically, we're just going to offer you surgery. And we recommend that you have a hysterectomy because there's no coming back from this." So I mean, the grief that hit me at that point was immense. Like, what do I do? Like, I listened to the doctors and I thought, okay, well, yeah, I'll do the surgery because I was in such a low place anyway. My father had just died as well. So mentally, I just didn't have any strength. So I listened to the doctors and just went, okay, go for it. But when the surgery came around, there was this part of me that just kept going, don't, this is not the right path. This is not the right path. This is not the right path. So I finally I put it off. And then when it came round again, I went, okay, the stress that I'm having going to do this surgery, I'm going to say no. And I then at that point said, right, I'm mentally well enough to go, Juliet, you're trained in this stuff. Go back into your training, have a look at what's happened, look at why it's happened, and kind of go in reverse and see if you could undo what has happened to you. I did that. I did a lot of research around fertility over the age of 40, and I also connected a lot to childhood trauma and did a lot of work around my childhood trauma, connected all the dots up, and became pregnant at age 44 and gave birth to my daughter at age 45. So even the doctors at that point had said to me, even when I said to them I'm pregnant, and I went to the doctors, they said, you're stupid to even be trying. You shouldn't even be trying. Like, everything that you've gone through, this is a stupid thing. You should have been taking contraception. That's it. You shouldn't be doing this. So I was really scared because they were kept telling me you shouldn't be doing this. But transpired my pregnancy was physically, everything went right. Mentally, I was struggling a little bit. Really, really struggling. I was struggling to bond with my baby. I suffered from prenatal depression and I suffered from postnatal depression. But what I learned from that, I then integrate into what I do now. Draw forwards, please.
Well, very clearly, you have a beautiful, perfect, healthy baby after all of that. Yes, you do. We can see the proof. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so many things in your story that stood out to me, and it's like resilience,
Yeah.
having hope, advocating for yourself, not just taking what we're trained to just take what they say because they're the professionals. And I believe there is a place for that. But there's also a place where you know your body more than anyone. And oh my gosh, and just bravery for you to know what you wanted and fight your way through it.
Yeah. Yeah. people say I'm resilient, and I sometimes don't believe that because of everything I went through. I guess, I experienced a lot of shame. I experienced a lot of blame. I blamed myself for leaving it too late. I blamed myself from going after my career. There's a lot of emotional stuff trapped in that. And people say I'm resilient. I think at the time I didn't feel like I was, because the inward blame that I put on myself, the whole process.
Which I think our listeners can relate to,
Yeah.
because it is very much, people will say to a lost parent, "You're so strong. Oh my goodness, you're just so strong." And the last thing that you feel is strength. But you have no choice. When you have no choice, you can do things that you never imagined.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it you experienced, though you didn't lose a child, you experienced loss in so many ways.
Yeah.
Sounds like financially, your well-being for a while,
Yeah.
and even you were facing maybe the loss of the dream of having a child.
Yeah.
So how did you take that feeling of loss in all of these instances with your finances, with your life, your well-being, your child? What was it in your training that kept you going? What was the one thing that you kept tapping into that you knew, like, this isn't what I need to do?
I think there are two things on my journey that I did. One was I did a vision quest, and I saw that I had this soul waiting for me. And it really gave me hope. Like, I was like, I connected with the soul of my father, and I also connected it with this soul. And this soul said, I'm coming to you. And I thought, well, maybe I'm supposed to adopt. Maybe I'm supposed to foster. I really went down that route because I thought, well, if the door's closed completely, I want to be a parent. I want to love a child. I want to do that. What can I do? So when I saw this soul, it gave me hope. That
Mm.
was the big, big part of the journey of like, I can do this. I can find a way. And I used to say to myself, and this is something I teach my clients, I always say, instead of like thinking like positive thinking, have something softer, like I'll find a way.
Yeah.
I used to say to myself, I'll find a way, I'll find a way, I'll find a way. So that was one of the aspects that I did, was I just kept saying to myself, I'll find a way. And then the other part was I kept remembering, like through my years as a shiatsu practitioner, of the transformation that my clients did, the other transformations that I did. So I used to have major back issues where I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't stand up. And I healed all that through the shiatsu work, and then became a firefighter. So the strength that my body had, it had healed itself. So I kept thinking, I've done this before. I've done major like healing before. So if body created infertility, it can create fertility again. That's what I kept thinking. I kept imagining healing. I just kept imagining my body healing. And that's what really kept me going as well.
That's so incredible, the power of the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the thoughts and the power of your mind and your thinking that were able to create results that you wouldn't have had you listened to modern medicine, I guess,
No,
or yeah.
no, I would never have had those results. I would be sitting here having had a hysterectomy,
Yeah.
and I would have a cheeky 3-year-old. It's supposed to be asleep. Yeah, I wouldn't have any of that.
Yeah.
And, that's why I have so much faith, and I help people tap into that, because your body can do that. Your body can heal. We just need to believe that we need to stick a sticking plaster on the problem instead of, I think the training in the Chinese medicine, Chinese medicine always says we look at the root cause. So I always have that thinking, there must be a reason why this has happened. There must be. It doesn't just happen. My body must have created this situation. So if it created it, it can uncreate it.
I think that second part of that sentence is the part that people miss. I think people are very quick to blame themselves for this is what's happened and must have been my fault. But that second part of, but if my body did this, it can also do this. It
Yeah.
can also reverse this.
Yeah.
And that's where, how do you, once you have that thought, okay, well, my body can reverse this. What's the next step? Is it just lining up those positive thoughts again, or how do you keep that mindset going once you realize that, or do you just gain that determination that you're going to find out how to reverse it?
I think it's like, it's, it's, I always say it's got so much the power of positive thinking, because, a lot of people say to me, oh, I think positive, I think positive. We can think positive, but actually there'll be a part of you saying that's complete bullshit. So it's more about going inward and going, what is really going on here? And when I looked at childhood trauma, when I looked at what was occurring in my brain, I had a massive fear of motherhood. From my own childhood upbringing, I didn't want to repeat those patterns. So
And
my
that's
body went, we're not going to do it then. We just won't do it. So sort of having this softness of saying I'll find a way allows you to be curious to what's really going on. And then you're open to like, okay, well, if there's childhood trauma here, and if I'm really feeling this sense of I don't want to be a mom, why? Why don't I want to do that? I had my own, I don't have a very good bond with my own birth mother. And often what happens is when we go towards something, say like motherhood, triggers can come up from our childhood. And so then it was being open and curious why, what's going on, why is this happening? And being brave enough to go into it to really discover what was going on.
and that's you getting back to that root cause again.
Yeah.
Always looking for the root cause, and from there you can create a strategy to do what you want to do to reverse it or deal with it, or maybe put it away.
Yeah. The reason why I could track it that way is in Chinese medicine, you have physical issues, but you also have psychological issues. When I connected the two, of
Mhm.
which element and meridian was responsible for fertility, I realized it gave me the signpost to look at my relationship with my mother. And that's what gave me the signpost to go, well, that's what it is. It was about early life, lack of nurture, lack of bonding with my mum.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That must have been such a huge realization for you, and it connected so many dots.
it really did. It
Mhm.
really, really did.
Yeah.
It made it made sense to it. Do you know what I mean? Because so many people go, why me? Why is this happening? We want to know why. And it makes sense to me.
And I think that's when you can find peace, right?
Yeah.
It's when you can make sense of it. And you don't have to, and that doesn't mean you like it. That doesn't mean you have all this toxic positivity around it, that you're, grateful for it. There it means none of that. It's just, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I was bitter, angry for
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
having lost everything, like the person that stole our money in Costa Rica, the person that, destroyed our business in the UK. Like, I was angry. I was walking around. I have never felt so much anger and hatred for people. But, you know, so I had to find a way to release it. I had to find a way to move on because I thought I can't feel this anger for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that will erode your health and your
Yeah.
mental wellness.
Yeah.
So when you begin to work with say you have a woman who's 40 years old who has maybe had some previous losses, had some struggles, or just really waited to try to have a family or decide to have a family. What are some of the first things that you do that you work on with them?
So first, I will always do like what I call a fertility strategy session. So I will find out what's going on in their life, their health, their menstrual cycle. Women's menstrual cycles tell us so much about fertility. So it will tell me what's going on and it will give me no one size fits all, but I will see a pattern and I will see which fertility personality they fit. And I will base my protocol on. So so there's always this kind of cookie cutter approach to fertility. And, you're told that you need to meditate. You're told you need to, eat like this and do this and do that. And it's more personalized to that. It's working with the person's personality, their traits, their habits, their lifestyle. Of course, this baseline nutritional changes we need to make because eating healthy is not enough for women over 40. We have to implement a specific protocol that will increase the egg health, that will increase fertility, that maximize chances of a successful pregnancy. So those are the key areas that I work with first. And then I always hear fear of motherhood. Always.
Mhm.
I can always hear a fear. And we will then discover what the root cause is, what's going on. And because these things will affect the body in a different way. If we are in fear, if we're holding fear in our body will say it's not safe to reproduce. We will not reproduce right now because we need to keep you safe. And the fact that we live now in a modern society where we've got cortisol going through our bodies. Living, we're not in survival, but we're acting as if we are. So we have to address the balance and get the nervous system to start to relax. And that means handling some of these fears, dealing with thoughts, and dealing with some of the lifestyle that's impacting a woman's body's ability to relax and go into a different mode every day.
That sounds so much better than the traditional or the clinical IVF treatments, and it just sounds, even if their pregnancy isn't achieved, which is never guaranteed,
No,
no matter what treatment you do or what route you go, I have to think that they end up in a much, much healthier place because of what they're learning from you.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest, so the most common personality type is a people pleaser.
Mm.
So being a people pleaser will drive you insane, and it impacts your life, your energy in so many ways. And so, I always say, well, look, like you say, there's no guarantees, but the shifts and changes that happen in their life because we're working on this core behavior that's impacting them and impacting their energy. And, we need to have energy to grow a baby, that the changes that they make are huge. They're
Oh,
quite dramatic. And that was the case for me, shifting the way I do my life, my career, everything. It changed dramatically
yeah.
as a result.
Well, I'm so fascinated what you said about how common the fear of motherhood is.
Yeah.
And do you think do you think it's normally because of something in their own childhood, or is it because we are so driven to have these big careers and these big, make all this money and be powerful and do all these things that women are allowed and encouraged to do? What do you think it usually comes from?
So the initial high achieving woman is based on childhood traumas, is based on needing to be seen, needing to be more, needing to get that love and appreciation that they didn't receive as a child. So it's an outward thing. So I'll give you an example of a very popular celebrity, Jennifer Aniston. So she never got pregnant. Okay. She did everything. She said she did everything. But she's your typical people pleaser where her identity is based on what she does and how she acts in life. That identity is so strong, powerful, that to release that, to become a mum, is too much unless you get to the root issue. But for her, it was, I can't do this because what happens to Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah.
So a lot of times the frustration is, but I've done all this, I've done all these things. Why is it not happening? It's because there's this main identity that's being held on to so tightly. So that is kind of the main issue. The other part is we don't have role models. So I don't know about you, but I was brought up by a mother who, once she became a mother, there was no career left for her.
Yeah.
So we don't have those role models. So again, we're saying, well, I grew up with a mother who was changed. I used to say, I don't want to be changed to kitchen sink. I used to think that motherhood was being subservient, being like having to let go of everything that I knew to become a mum and almost being in the shadows. And so again, I have to help my clients reprogram. This is generations. Okay. This is in our DNA. You cannot just switch it. Although we have a technique that will readdress and balance the DNA out, we have to do that because immediately it's like a seed. Immediately you go, I want to get pregnant. That deep piece of DNA will light up and start growing.
Oh,
And it
wow.
will say, we give up everything. Because women have not had the opportunities that we have now. And particularly if you're a person that is, centered around being a high achiever, there's no way you're going to let that go. No way. No
Yeah.
way. You're never going to want to let that go.
Oh my gosh. When you said that, I thought of my own mother. What I think of with her is we were taught, the girls in our family were taught that to be a good mother, you had to really let yourself grow. Like
Mm,
you can't take time to take care of yourself because you need to give all of your energy to your children. And yeah, so motherhood was a ball and chain. I
yeah,
never thought of that way. My own experience wasn't. I was able to break through a lot of that, but yeah, there are so many things that I'm sure the women of that you're working with and the age group that you're working with were taught that are very, very hard to break.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And I think particularly once you're in your 40s, like your career is in a very different place,
Yeah.
and to let that go, because the emotional mind will say that means we have to let that go. And
Yeah.
it's not true.
And it's not true. No,
It's
it's
not
definitely
true.
not.
And kind of part of my work is we navigate the process. So, like one of my clients, so we're dealing with secondary infertility. And she already has, so I've been working with her for about 4 months. So already she's shifting and thinking ahead. And she's already started not retraining, but adding something to her. So she's a yoga instructor. She's adding something to her, what she is, so that it allows for her to be a mum again.
Wow.
She already has a
Yeah.
child, but it allows for her to bring more space to have to be mum and have the young baby.
Have both. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a choice.
No, no.
Mhm. What I think that you must be bringing to your clients and what I love so much about your energy is you radiate so much hope. Like nothing is you're unstoppable, right? Like nothing, don't tell me no. I'm not taking no for an answer. I love that about you. And
I guess, I mean, I had to fight through
yeah.
so much adversity for many, many years that, it's like, yeah, no is not an answer. But I'm not typically a person like that. Like, I have insecurities. I'm insecure. But I guess there is always this drive inside of me that says, there's got to be a way.
Oh, and there is.
Yeah.
There's gotta be a way, and it might not be the answer that you had hoped for or
Yeah.
that you wanted, but there is a way that's
Yeah.
different. What do you wanna say to a mom who has had a couple losses maybe or a loss? She's getting up there in age, she's getting to be 40 something and everyone's telling her it's too dangerous, she shouldn't do it, just like you heard. What do you wanna say to that person?
Just I want to say, you know, having I'm not experienced baby loss, but having experienced loss impacts us, and I think it stays with us. I really do. I think any loss that we have, no matter what it is, it stays with us. But moving on doesn't mean to say that you 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 leave it behind. It's more like, it's an experience that you've learned from, and that you can move on, and so much move on, but like it's okay to try again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if things have gone wrong, it doesn't always mean that the future's going to go wrong too. And that it's very hard when you're in that space. And I know what it's like when you feel that the world has crashed down around you and there's no hope. I know how that feels. But like, just gradually just walk. towards what you want, and you'll find strength in that. Just take a step. Don't have to make a huge leap. You know, I've suffered with mental health issues all my life. You know, they get me. Depression gets me from time to time, but I'm still just going to keep walking. I'm still going to just keep walking forwards and finding a way. And, it's not until you look back that you realize how far you've come.
Yeah.
And it's possible to it's not about like rebuilding your life, but it's, I've had to rebuild my life. You know what? The way I've rebuilt it is so much better than the life I had.
Oh, love that. Yes.
Sometimes these things are there to teach us. They really are. And no matter how hard it really is, they are there to teach us.
Yeah.
And I learned from losing everything.
Yeah.
That I was building a life that wasn't totally in alignment with who I really am.
And the gifts are on the other side of it.
Yeah.
The gifts are on the other side of that learning.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
So I'm Juliet Owen Nuttall. I'm the co-founder of the non-invasive method, and I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I guess the main area is Facebook. I work specifically with over 40, but I do have clients under 40. But I kind of have coined a phrase of fabulous, fertile, and over 40, because you know what? We are all fabulous. We deserve to be fabulous and fertile. And, there is, like I say, there's always a way.
Yeah.
There is always a way.
I love that. Well, I'll for sure put all of your information in the show notes. I know that you are a wonderful resource for so many, and I so appreciate your time with us today and for bringing your energy and your positivity. And Lyra drew a beautiful drawing on your back wall, so that's a bonus. Oh gosh, I love it.
I have to clean that off.
It's motherhood in real time, and I'm here for it. I love it. So thank you so much, Juliet.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great. I love sharing my story with you. So thank you.